For today's build, we partnered with Gearbox Publishing to build a model of the Interceptor ship from the game Homeworld 3.
You do all this work to get the reference right, and then the last step is not to make it perfect to the reference, make it perfect to itself, and then it lands.
Yeah.
It's a nice looking ship.
It's a nice looking ship. Yeah.
I love that it's not obviously derivative of anything specific.
No, we cannot wait until you all can see this when it gets primered. The primer is like this, oh, you're gonna need to find some good editorial music for that.
The timeline was super tight, so I called in my friend, former ILM colleague Fon Davis to help detail this model just like we used to. Using materials I inherited from the old ILM shop and techniques we've been honing for decades, we had so much fun with this challenge. We felt right at home in Homeworld's universe. Here's how it went.
Fon, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Adam, Fon, we have a model making project for you guys today.
This is so exciting.
Very exciting.
There's a new game that's actually out today, Homeworld 3. It's out on Steam and the Epic Games Store. It's a real-time strategy game. It's a successor to one of my favorite real-time strategy games, and there are a ton of different ships. Adam has selected a ship, the Interceptor here, and the developers would like us to make a 20-inch model of it.
What's funny is they gave us the digital assets, but some of the texturing is simply visual.
Right.
Which is how it works for games and, even for visual effects for films. Like the geometry that you get, the game geometry is simply this. This is a 3D print of a model that we had Daryl process, so we can actually turn it into a 3D print. This is that 20-inch model, and you can tell it's smooth. I mean, there's a little bit of geometry here and there.
Yeah, a little bit here, yeah.
But none of this stuff. This is all in material normal maps and texture maps. And so the challenge, it seems like, will be how to transfer details like the paneling onto these 3D printed parts.
We're taking this visual and making it actual.
Any immediate thoughts? Any immediate thoughts on the approach?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this could all be vacuum formed.
Yep.
So we could vacuum form over these patterns and then cut out the panels from the vacuum form to create a lot of the panelization.
Right now, my stock of styrene is all 060, so it's fairly thick.
Okay.
Because we have the ILM Big Blues, we're going to go through their styrene stock and see. I think there's probably some 02, 03 in there.
Okay, hopefully, yeah. Ideally, because then we could cut that out with scissors.
Yep.
So there's a lot of panels, so.
And imagine, the blue and the gray here will be a paint pass, but even details like in the top and the bottom of the ship, you guys will decide whether that's a mask that I can make with our vinyl cutter that you can use as a mask, or something like this, whether that's actually dimensional and a vinyl or a decal that you want to put on top of the ship.
I feel like these color hits are fine to do as vinyl decals.
Yeah. Maybe this is a frisket, though.
Yeah. Oh, okay, sure.
And then Adam, we also have options for you, because I know anytime you can add a piece of real metal to a ship build, that's great. So the gun module in the front here, we have Daryl processed both as the full completed piece, or also
with some
holes
barrels missing. So I can turn those. I think I would cut these off and put little brass things in there. Yeah, that'll be nice.
Very cool.
These orthographic layouts are just fabulous.
Yeah, and we have both the textured and just the normal map versions. Anything you guys might need in terms of parts to 3D print, parts to vinyl cut, parts decals to make, let me know. I'll run the art department and supply you with whatever you guys need.
Amazing.
Dude,
Great.
Probably both want to hit panelizing.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of panels.
It's a lot of panels.
So maybe one of us can start on this and one of us can start on the body.
This is like this. Yeah, the body has
The body has about, I would say, equal number of panels to this. Because it's so detailed.
Yeah, you're right. This is like, we're cutting it all the way up to get all of that panelization.
Do you have a leaning, a preference?
I'm inclined to start with this one.
Okay. So I can start on the body.
Yeah. So for vacuum forming, Zilla, I am going to make one of these vacuum form bucks. So I'm going to slice off the registration pin.
Oh, perfect.
So I can lay it flat, and this will be the one we build off of.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, cool.
So we've covered this vacuum former on the channel, I think even more than once in the past. We'll include a link in the description. But the origin story is that there was a company called VacuForm that made what I think is one of the most beautiful desktop vacuum formers ever. They are impossible to find. And Fon and I each coveted the one our mentor Mitch Romanowski had, and each of us built a version of the same. And I'm about to pull this 030 styrene over this form to start the panelization process. This is totally identical to how we would do this in the actual field on an actual job. There are two ways to panelize. You can score into the shell of your object, or you can dimensionally put plastic on the outside, and that's what I'm doing here. I'm vacuum forming a shell, and then I'm going to cut apart that shell, and that will become the panels. I'm going to turn from heat onto vacuum. I have all that on one switch, so I can't turn both on at the same time, which would immediately blow any fuse. So here we go. Beauty! A perfect pull. There used to be this metal fabrication place in San Francisco where I would go and buy offcuts from their stock because I couldn't afford to buy huge sheets and then have them cut down. And this perforated plate here came from that place. And I think I got enough for both you and me, the same perforated plate.
We have matching perforated plates.
Oh, that came out nice.
Yeah, beautiful.
Awesome. I'll do the back side of him. Okay, here we go. Yep, there we go. You heard the pop. Oh, it's a good pull. Yeah. Do it like that. I'll also probably get a blow through here, but that's fine with a rag. I can jam it in. There we go. That's cool. You can see the line right through, so you can cut to it. Oh, right. That top line.
So what I'm doing is I'm cutting into the corners of each of these so that this top piece can bend out without tearing. That's what you just, it's just a real easy way to release a part. See, that allows this to open up. And you want to do as little damage and tearing to the part as you can when you pull it out. Boom. All right.
We are making great progress. We're about 2.5 hours in. The orthographic views supplied by Homeworld were absolutely mission critical for the panelizing, but we're executing this in two totally different ways.
Yeah.
I pulled this form over my piece, and I've been using calipers to transfer the markings. And what I'm trying to do is just make sure all of my angles are straight to the model and look right. Once I get that, then I'll start to cut this apart. You're doing something completely different.
Yeah, so what I did is I took the vacuform and I took a photocopy of the model. I cut out a section of it and I just glued it right to the vacuform.
Oh, amazing.
With Spray 77.
Yeah.
And then I've just been using that to cut out the parts. So I actually have the paper right on there. So once I sand this and get it to the right shape, I'll peel that paper off and then it'll go on there.
So one of the things that we've been chatting about, which is funny, is that like we are starting with reference material that's absolute. But the final model will not necessarily always follow the reference material exactly, because if it doesn't work to the model, you got to change it. So the bilateral symmetricality sort of falls by the wayside. And it's because basically it's like, I know that this square is not exactly the same size as this square, but given that no human will ever see them together, it doesn't matter that much. What's incumbent on me is just to make sure that the lines are square and the corners are square. That's the places that catch your eye. That's where I'm starting from.
It's also a way that you maintain scale. You got to keep all your edges really, really sharp. As soon as you start to soften those edges, that's what we call a scale buster. So
yeah, especially when you've got a panel line that moves like this, and if one part is soft and the other's rigid, yeah, all of your hard work falls apart.
Yeah. So we'll have a lot of sanding with these things to keep everything super straight.
And the specific panelizing that I've got that is one of the biggest pains in the ass is these louvered parts of the engine cowlings. I was thinking about cutting the styrene, and then I remembered I've got all this evergreen strip from the stash, and I will basically glue these in using Weld-On and get them lined up with each other. That's also going to be a pain in the butt. And that's actually, I think, the very next thing that I'm doing, because everything else I do after that sort of hinges on that being right.
Yeah. And one of the biggest challenges in working on this particular design is keeping the space between the panels consistent, or at least consistent in a way that looks intentional.
Yeah. That's exactly how it works. It's funny when you're up to it that, like, there's this moment from, I know that you listened to too much Beatles when you were a kid, but, and by that I just mean he was oversaturated with Beatles. It's one of my favorite facts about you. You're like, I can't do the Beatles. But in Get Back, the documentary, there's this point at which someone says to George about what the album will be, and George says, we don't know what the album will be. The album is going to tell us what it wants to be, and then our job is to service that. And it is such a pure way of describing exactly that. You make it look right to itself. You do all this work to get the reference right, and then the last step is not to make it perfect to the reference, make it perfect to itself, and then it lands.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
We're hoping to finish all the panelizing by the end of today. That might be.
Fingers crossed. It's a lot.
It's a lot. There's a lot of small pieces.
But we're moving.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I've successfully added these ribs to the engine nacelles, and I want you to take a close-up look and see how kind of crunchy that is close-up. None of that matters. All that crunchy stuff, all the little defects, all that's going to go away in the paint job. Once the panels start going on, we'll put a little weathering in there. Your eye won't see any of that stuff. It'll just feel like it's coming out of there. In fact, I'll show you over here. I got a little too much glue here, and it started to eat away. But again, you're never going to see that because this is under the ship. You're going to be seeing it this way only ever. So there's only so hard I need to work to make that look pretty. But I am just about now to start to cut out the panels and actually install them. And I'm going to start with the middle one and then build down from both sides. All right, so here is the detailed barrels next to their undetailed counterparts. I'm about to assemble, so here's how this is going to go. The brass bit goes in here, and then this bit goes on there, and a little super glue will hold it all in place. And right there, you see how much more scale I get for that. Yeah, I get a lot more scale out of just that little bit of extra detailing. So I'm going to assemble, but first I want to clean up these little posts. With CA glue and Kicker, you often, with all of these glues that we're using, there is time to move. With styrene, you put a panel down, it sticks very quickly, but with a little bit of force, you actually can very sensitively adjust it. And it was only that that let me get some of the precision out of my paneling. And with this, I've got enough space between the brass and the aluminum tubing that I was using that I was actually able to level these up so that they're, because again, if these are even remotely not the same level, there we go. Oh, I need to add a little more glue. And this is also the object lesson and why it's always fantastic to print out your reference material in 1-to-1 scale. Like, there's just nothing that makes it more pleasurable to play with this stuff. All right, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. The other thing that surprised me when I first started doing this at a very high level is how little, like, that's sometimes all you need is a, it's really like, it's great at those moments when you're nearing the finish of your sanding to really just inspect every time the sanding stick goes past. Only that kind of thing will really, yeah. It's like you'd be surprised how much you can take off and how little force you need if you're paying attention. One of styrene's like great achievements and its great terrors is that it wicks into everything really beautifully, which can save or ruin your life in equal measure.
Can we do it?
Yeah. Let's do it. Oh. May I?
Yeah.
All right, let's. It's a nice size to work in.
Absolutely.
Right? All right, let's. I think I'm going to do this with a masking tape. Use that as just a tiny little panel raise on the edge of the barrels there.
That's awesome.
I'll have to straighten that one out.
That's a really cool design. I like these little pods.
I don't mind them, yeah. I like the little magazine holders for the flechette guns, whatever they are. Oh, dude, that is... Oh, yeah. So one of the funny things that used to happen at ILM is we would finish, you know, whatever, like 4 months on some giant $2 million construction that like a dozen people put their heart and soul into. And then it's got to go to the shooting stages, which were across a busy thoroughfare in Marin. So you're always pushing the model, literally this $2 million model, through traffic to get it to the sound stages.
Terrifying. We called it the gauntlet.
It was the gauntlet.
You had to run the gauntlet with your model.
At this age, what I find most sad is that round about like 7 o'clock, my eyes are like, we're done reading. And I'm like trying to read, my eyes are like, we can't, no, you just have to stop, watch TV or something, because they won't focus anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to yell. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, I think it's a reasonable time for a check-in. We've gone gangbusters. This is not bad for, I think, what is just about 8 hours of work for us, right?
Yes.
Give or take. Mm-hmm. You paneled the large bottom. I paneled the underneath of the engine nacelles. I love that we have 2 totally different approaches to executing this.
Yeah, we do.
I built from the center out. You were attaching the piece of paper to it. That's also what I love about doing builds like this is like, there's no
right
Yeah.
way to do it.
Yeah.
The wings were really pretty straightforward. I used a hole punch to add some little detail there, just a couple of little greeblies, and then I turned some barrels to get a little more detail. And actually, it's really neat. To render faster, there are high levels of detail that are just texture, not actual topography. So I added in the actual texture, and I think the guns are done too.
Yeah.
So what do we have
Here, let's put it-
left? Oh yeah, let's
Got to
hold
put
this
the
up.
whole thing together with the gun there.
And
so
yours,
everyone
it's
can see
attached,
it.
yeah?
Yep.
So this is the underside. Oh man. Seeing it dimensional like that,
Yes.
it's really kind of exciting.
That's pretty cool.
Now it would seem like we're only halfway done because the top has no detail yet, but actually that's not really the case.
yeah.
The top is much simpler in terms of its layout
Yeah.
than the bottom.
Yeah. We'll divide and conquer on this as well.
There's like 7
Yeah,
panels
so-
as opposed to 30.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wait a second. Oh, I see. It goes to. For me, in panelizing of this, one of the key things is how edges are met. So there's an open question as to like, would you do this panel first or these panels first? And my approach is always to do the outside ones first because the outer perimeter is going to be what draws your eyes, and the inner one can be fit to that. But anyway, that's the philosophy of where I'm starting from.
I like this kicker.
It's I find it doesn't work with old super glue as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I find disappears with super glue is its ability to set.
So what I'm doing here is I have the 3D print is done in 2 halves, and we did that so we could 3D print, The 3D print is done in 2 halves so we could vacuum form each half for our panels. But when we were looking at the design, we realized that there are some panels that span the seam that goes from end to end. So we can use those panels to hide the seam of the 3D print on our final model. So I'm using this, which is our vacuum form plug, to vacuum form over without a seam. Then the panels will hide the seam on our final. This first pass, I'm not trying to get it smooth yet. I'm just trying to get it in all the cracks. Just kind of smushing it in there.
Gentlemen,
Sir,
how you doing?
Great.
we're good. We're barreling
Lot of
towards
panels.
finishing up the top. Lots of little
look
panels.
fantastic. So I'm ready to start vinyl cutting or even styrene cutting using our Cricut Maker. Wanted to get a sense of what you guys wanted to have cut, in what color, and what would make sense as extra dimensional stuff that you might need before you do a base coat.
I think that stuff is dimensional. I think that's dimensional.
And what I also have is additional render with some lighting that might give some insight into like.
Yeah, no, I see
know.
what they're thinking, and we're not cutting those out as holes up
Yeah.
there.
We can fool the eye.
Yeah,
So all this.
Let's make all that dimensional. Let's do this as a frisket.
Okay. And that's a stencil.
That's a stencil.
You know, I'm wondering, should we do these?
Yeah, I think
We're
we
not
should do
doing
those
panels.
as vinyl.
Yeah, so these could be vinyl.
And to be fair, that should
should be
that should
vinyl?
be kind of a piece like this that comes down and drops like that because it's going to go
Oh.
over the edge.
It could mirror.
Oh, actually, that's it.
It could
should-
have a space and then mirror.
That's
We,
it.
we do see from the side, yeah, it does wrap around.
Yeah, so let's make
Yeah,
it
so
like
something
that,
like that.
and it wraps around. So it's that plus that, and then
Yeah.
the other trapezoid.
And these are basically all the same.
Yeah, so let's cut out like 10 of those.
Okay.
I think these guys will make panels and styrene.
So,
So
and vinyl, that's okay to apply at the end. After you're
at the very end. Yeah,
Anything dimensional you'll need
Yeah,
sooner
we could
rather than
paint,
later.
pre-paint those.
yeah. Actually, the vinyl
This-
I would love to have before I prime it.
Before. Okay.
So you think of this vinyl?
Yeah, I do.
Black vinyl?
I think those are vinyl black vinyl and black styrene. If you can do.
I don't have black styrene, but I
But
do
this
have
can be at the very end. So can this. So to me, the only thing we need before paint are we can do the little greeblies like that, right? The only thing we need before paint, I think, are these guys.
That's at the end.
This is at the end.
You know, these might be fun to do painted separately and stuck on.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So all we need before primer are these trapezoids.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
You could also draw us these in the same, and we paint over that.
Oh, yeah.
That on these 6 panels in vinyl would be a really nice drop.
So
Actually,
these I was going to say these should be wider because we're looking at this shape here.
right.
So,
Pull this out. I have it flattened,
oh, perfect.
so it should be wider on here. I've actually squished it, but
Okay, so on these, to be fair, given what I see here, you know what might look really great, Norm, is if we could do these as borders.
Oh.
Where you made them like,
So
and
negative
the border is
space
the
inside.
only thing we do.
Got it.
And we paint it,
Let's
and
do
then it
that.
gives us a drop back.
Great, and that's vinyl.
Yep,
That's great.
Okay.
Should do
If we
these
could
little-
have those 6 borders and these 10 trapezoids
Before your primer coat.
before we primer coat.
And that's all vinyl. Nothing
Yep.
styrene yet.
Nothing styrene yet.
Styrene at the end are really these dimensional.
A lot of these little, yeah.
Yeah.
We can do those even
Yeah,
as styrene.
That's D first. That's
Yeah.
And then this little pip. Those could be metal, and I think that those are notched in. Oh, actually, if we had those squares, yeah, you're right, because we could add squares.
I notched them in.
Yeah, we could add a square in the notch.
Yes.
Right?
You're totally right.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that's happening about your piece there
Yeah.
is that this isn't as long as it needs to be.
Oh shit!
It's fine. We can complete.
That's what I needed to.
Yeah, no,
Oh, I should have cut off the front and the back.
it's just totally
That's hilarious.
fine. So
But I did it fast.
exactly. So we're gonna have to figure out.
So maybe I elongate this.
So tell you
but
what,
I
I can
cut
cut
this
this out
one
in a
off.
minute,
Okay.
and then we can just start to.
Okay. All right. We'll
And
figure it out.
you can pull. Oh, right. We don't have the. Yeah, we can actually just end up putting a little filler in there. an
Yeah,
extra
we'll have
panel.
to.
Okay.
We'll make up. That's bonus detail. Ah, what a bummer. Oh wait, I have this. Oh, but it's missing.
Yeah,
Oh.
but that therein is the piece we need right there.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
I am coming. You know what I'm going to do here? Because I don't like how this settles in here, I'm going to chop off these 2 horns. Because I don't like how that settles in.
Sure.
Okay. Just checking with you on that. It occurs to me that it's worth showing you guys how I make my notches, because a notch like this, an absolutely critical Star Wars feature, and it has delightfully infected other ship designs. So here's how I make a notch. If I have to make a notch, this is a frangible piece now. Let's say I want to make a notch right here. So first, I use my finger to give myself the distance. Then we'll roughly mark out the location. Then I come in with a nibbler. And I'm just going right to the edges, but I'm staying 1 square away from the outer extents. There we go. Then I come in with the flush cutters. This is only my method. Everyone does it differently. And I hit the corners like that. Then I come in with a sanding stick. Sorry about that, Josh. We'll take a look at it from the underside. There it is. Crispness really counts on the notches. All right, there you go. There's a notch. Oh, yeah. Follow it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then that'll be that. And then I'll follow this side for this. And come.
I'm just adding a little spot putty to hide this one seam, because if you see this seam, the illusion will be shattered. Put it there.
Ooh.
I know, terrifying.
Yes.
Terrifying. Oh, it's gonna look great. Yep, awesome. Now I know how to do this right instead of the dumb way, which I did it before.
Are we gonna paint right here too?
We could.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay.
If there's one takeaway as a modeler you came away from this build with, it's how much work you can do with a sanding stick over almost every other tool. Like, you can do so much forming with a sanding stick and so much finessing. That was the thing that surprised me when I started making spaceships. I'm so excited for what you're about to witness, because with these parts of the greeblies on, they may look cool now, but the moment they get hit with gray, they become an actual thing. It's super cool. So I'm gonna prime these 3 pieces. Here we go.
Okay, so interesting thing I learned today. Adam prefers the Iwata airbrush, and I really like using the Pache. But I was like, Adam and I have traded notes on tools for a long time, so I thought I would try the Iwata just to see if I could have the same kind of experience with it. And actually, it's a great airbrush, but and it's very easy to clean. But it sprays differently than what I'm used to with the Pache, and sometimes you just need something you're comfortable with. So I actually started the model with the Iwata, and then I went back to my old faithful Pache H-style airbrush because that's the one I'm most comfortable with. I have lots of these, and I use them all the time. And I just couldn't do it. But while I'm on the subject of airbrushes, you notice how clean and shiny this is. One of the reasons they make these out of chrome is so the paint doesn't stick to them. So, and that's one of the things I'm always telling people when they learn how to airbrush is you should clean your airbrush to always look like it's brand new.
Sorry.
The reason you do that is I always say it's like a surgical tool. If it's dirty, if it's got stuff inside, you can kill your patient. So I always treat it like a surgical tool because there's nothing worse than having a little blob of paint that just sprays out of your airbrush randomly when you're using it. So that's why it's very important to clean these. I clean them obsessively, perfectly shiny clean every time I finish with one, so that the next time I use it, I can just pick it up and go for it. Anyway, I'm way into airbrushes if you can't tell.
Well, we're running into a third day. I think once these, let's not mask tonight. I'm a little afraid of this paint job. I wanted to have a few hours.
Yeah, so we're working with a new paint, new to us.
Yeah.
Adam's worked with it a couple times. I've never worked with this paint. It's an acrylic. I usually work with enamels.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of unknowns. I discovered that while I was working with it. You have to go lighter coats, more coats to keep it from dripping.
We got a few artifacts, but it laid out and dried out really beautifully, but I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, I feel like
we're going to leave it for 12 hours.
It feels fragile.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave it.
But after that, we're going to do some gray masking. I think actually the primer we've got is ideal for the gray stripes. Mm-hmm. And then you've got a technique I'm dying to try.
Oh, yeah. This a model maker named Martin McDonald used to work for Fonco when it was in Northern California. Showed me
this kind of technique here.
Yeah, he showed me this really cool trick for getting this scratched up kind of style of paint, like where it's been scraped off. And basically you just wet salt and you put it on your model, and then you paint over that, and then you wipe off the salt, and it gives you this great pattern.
Dude, we are totally doing that. I'm super psyched to try that.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome stuff.
And it looks just like this. It's a great technique.
And then once we've got that, it's about adding a few decals and then an hour or so worth of weather passing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most fun part.
It is. That's when it becomes real.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased with how it's shaping up.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. And actually, it's interesting because I wasn't really familiar with this paint. When I put it on, I got a little bit of splotchiness, but that splotchiness actually looks great for scale.
Yeah,
because we're doing a weathered look, it's not the kind of splotchiness that is a scale buster. It's high frequency enough to just look like, something's been out in the weather and been used for a while, which is what we're going for. So it's another happy accident. You get a lot of happy accidents in this work.
Is there anything else to go over before we wrap for this day? No, I think that's it. All right. Yeah, we're going to go home and eat dinner and stuff, but for you, it's just going to be like a second or two.
We have our ship in masking tape right now for the very light gray stripes, the 3 stripes that are across the top and bottom of this ship. When you look at this artwork, you can see that there's this chipping that is happening, this kind of flaking away of the paint, this weathering. And I'm going to use a technique I learned from a friend of mine who used to work at Fonco here in Northern California named Martin McDonald. But it's a technique where you use crushed salt. You use rock salt to create this pattern on the model, and then you paint it, and then you take off the salt. So the reason you use rock salt is because, these pieces are too big to use, but what you do is you crush this stuff up. I'm just going to smash it with the scissors here. And the reason you crush it up is because you want that variation of sizes and shapes. And it breaks into these really great shapes that if you look at them, they look very, very similar to this style of ware. So now I've got all these really cool shapes I can use to mask the paint. And I just take a little cup of water. It's going to want to repel the liquids, so you have to kind of do this in phases. And I sprinkle it on, and then I kind of tap it and roll it. Get some of that. If you have a little too much water, you can get some of that off with a rag. That feels very much like what the art is describing. I'm focusing on the leading edge because that's usually where the most wear happens and stuff like this. I'm going to do a little bit more than the artwork shows, just to kind of make this feel more used, I guess. Then I'll move to the other area and just keep doing that. One of my favorite things about working professionally in model making is the brain trust that you get in working with other model makers, because everyone has their own little bag of tricks. And so you get to learn all these really cool tricks from your colleagues. And it's funny, sometimes you learn these tricks and you're very excited to use it again, and you won't touch it for years. But then when you get to that particular design aesthetic or something, you need the technique. It's great because you go, I know a way. And that was definitely what I thought when I saw the artwork, because it looks so much like this pattern. There we go. Okay. When we knock that off, that'll expose the undercoat of blue. So now we just brush little soap flakes off. You can see.
All right, I was off doing an appearance for a few hours. How did we do? How's things been going since I've been gone?
I feel a little guilty. I've been having a blast without you. That's what's been happening.
I suspected as much might be the case. Oh, look at
So
the
we
salt.
did the salt, yeah. I went a little heavier on the bottom. I feel like that
I
fun,
can
huh?
see how that's going to be cool.
Yeah. We'll probably still want to come in and do some handwork to get really specific, but it's a great way to get that randomization quickly, you know.
And it's only 2 stripes on the big one.
3.
3.
The nose,
Oh,
the nose
right.
and 2 stripes. Yeah.
And so did you do a spritz and then put the salt on the spritz?
Just a little dab of water, and then you get the salt wet and it sticks.
Well, and then you just let it dry out there.
Yeah, just used a Q-tip. Yeah, this actually I hit with the gray and a black tip, because this is the only piece that needed 2 layers of masking, so I let that dry. I did that first so it could dry and just hit those. And those are the little winglets.
Nice. Oh, you see you doing a dark gray to black on the ends? That's the
Yeah,
funny
just
part.
threw the black on there, just to give it that variation.
Very, very cool.
And then, timing-wise, we'll have to decide whether there's time to do some gradients, but those are always fun.
Yeah. What should we start unwrapping?
I think anything. You want to start on the main one there?
Yeah. Oh.
Be delicate around the gray.
Yeah. I'm going to start there. Oh, dude, it's cool. Oh, good. You found some of the pinstriping tape.
Yeah, and I switched to enamel
Oh, yeah.
for the black and the. I did. Well, I did the Tamiya for the Tamiya primer. It was
Right,
really good
right.
for the light gray, and then for the grimy black,
Yeah.
that was Flow Quill.
Oh, nice. Nice. That makes total sense.
Yeah, it just goes on nicer.
I mean, the funny thing is that when people ask me advice about types of paints, it's like I've seen every finish from every paint.
Yeah, it's all preference.
It
is
really
absolutely
is.
preference, because I know people who swear by acrylics. I'm not that guy personally, but I know people who are,
Yeah.
and their models don't look bad.
No. They don't look like they don't know what they're doing.
We did an experiment on an architectural model project once where we switched to latex house paints for miniatures.
What?
And it was remarkably good stuff. It was
That's
great.
insane,
We just
really.
wanted to see if we could do a less toxic
Right.
version of paint.
Ooh, oh yeah.
Oh, man.
That's sweet.
Sexy.
Paint, the salt just looks so good.
Isn't that great? It's random in a way that would take a very long time to do another way, which is
Yeah.
my favorite part about it.
It's super cool. Wow.
But this is all the base coats are done now.
Oh, right. That's what I wanted to grab. Have you played around with this?
No,
Fantastic.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's really good. And this is that's what painted the Iron Man.
Oh,
The refill for Molotov. Something really interesting to take a look at here is that when something is shiny black, it's almost hard to see. And so detailing is actually just about helping the black be more visible. It's giving your eye some parameters to understand the structure. Because something that's too shiny is actually, like I said, it's hard to see. The golden idols from Raiders are sprayed with dulling spray, even though they were chromed. Because when they're perfectly shiny, they're actually too shiny. It's a nice looking ship.
yes,
I mean,
yes.
and I mean their design. I think we're executing it well. I'm really happy with how it's going. It's a nice
Yeah.
looking ship.
I like it.
Yeah.
I love that it's not obviously derivative of anything specific.
No, we're on one of the last paintings, so
Yeah.
I don't want to say it too far out loud, but like, we're really close, right?
I think first we should do some, like out of the vent, we should do some of that little grimy stuff. Well, you can do that with a white beam, huh?
Oh, do you mean this stuff?
Yeah, you'll get
Yeah.
that.
Oh, I'll totally. Yeah.
So that'll be after frisket, huh?
So we want to do the. Ooh, throw that out.
We need to put the graphic on and the triangles.
The graphic and the triangles. Okay.
Who got salt all over the table? Do you want to do triangles or graphic? Do you have a preference?
No, graphic.
Okay.
Hey, actually, you know what? We can benefit each of us by doing it this way. That's the direction it's facing in. We were both willing to work under the restriction, but it was unnecessary.
That was funny because I was like doing the math.
Yeah, it's me too. And then I was like, we were both at the same position. I don't really. need to. Zilla?
Yes.
I feel like that's enough, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and this is why I love lacquer. Giving you all the detail.
Look at that. It's beautiful.
Ah,
Nice. That looks really good.
it really does. There's just no. Yeah, I'll hold this down for you.
There it goes.
Oh yeah! Time to do the middle.
Nice pen. Okay.
Oh, dude. I mean, I could do this for hours.
What's that saying, right?
It's never done.
It's never done, it's only abandoned.
Yes. So
as
I
a
think
painting.
I think it's time to abandon this. This
Yes.
is. I think we can call it done. I think we can stick a fork in it,
Absolutely.
dude. I want to thank the makers of Homeworld for designing such a fun ship to build and execute and weather. For the designers who built this in a virtual environment, I hope it's exciting for you to see it made physically. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, and this is a great design. Remarking earlier that it's not obviously derivative of anything, which is a really refreshing thing to see these days in spaceship design.
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Oh, it smells so good. It's like just nothing but VOCs pouring off this thing. It's a great off-gassing smell. I love working together. First of all, because we've been doing it for decades now,
Yeah.
but also because it really, really shows how many different ways there are to get something like this across the line. There is no wrong way. The only wrong way is when it yields a model that's not what you want.
Right. Or if our techniques differ so much, you can tell which part each of us had done.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
So I'm very, I love that. Because I remember that from the good old days, as we would call them now.
Right, everyone would sort of stop and move on to another part to do greebling.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd sort of like shift your dance card.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, it's beautiful.
It makes me want to go take it onto the motion control stage.
Yes, I would love to shoot this model. That was the most fun I've had easily in at least a year. This is like amazing.
I'm so happy.
Yeah. The marathon of model making that this was
We figured it out off camera, 40 person hours of work, give or take.
yeah, about 40 hours.
You were saying, you or I could have done this in a week, a full
Yeah.
week, Monday through Friday, and I think you're totally right. It's about just about what it would have taken.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining me for this one day, for joining us for this one day build. It took 3 days. See you guys next time.
All right, before we wrap up, I have one more bit of housekeeping. First of all, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to the Homeworld 3 team for giving us the opportunity to make this replica of the Interceptor ship from the game. The game, which by the way, is out today on Steam and the Epic Game Store, so you can pick up Homeworld 3 as well by following links in the description below. But you may notice also some additional models here. This mothership, these ships are part of the Homeworld 3 Collector's Edition, which along with their influencer kit, which has a bunch of awesome goodies, is going to be made available to one of you out there. You can win one. Rules and how to enter are also in the description below, so you can win this mothership, which has sounds and lights up. Or you can have this small squadron of recon ships on your desk as well as a digital copy of the game, of course. All the information is in the details and description below. But thank you again so much for watching. We had so much fun on this project. I'm Norm, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Hyperspace has been weaponized. Nowhere is safe.
Group 1 assigned. Move to location.
Position noted. Moving now.
You have the go-ahead to increase power to nav sensor.
Understood.
It's the Queen. She's coming for us.
Target caged and locked.
On my mark. Go! I am still struggling with it all.
Hostile turret tracking me. Requesting support.
The losses.
Alert. We need cover. Taking turret fire.
It hurts.
Controller lead.
But I don't want to forget them.
Get us out of here. Shut down their lock. Adjust. Adjust.
Even in victory, there is loss. May the burden remain.